Hi chickens, this is going to be a little bit of a run through of my journals and all the paper that I keep to help me to explore my spirituality and my personal development and stuff like that. Thorn from Drawing Canals did a wicked video about her journals, or some of her journals anyway, and it really inspired me to get talking about my own addiction to stationery. It is a sincere addiction. I have tried to find a group, but so far it's just me on my own conversing with people on the internet who appear to be similarly addicted to stationery. So that'll have to do for now. The first thing I wanted to talk through is little notebooks for the bag. I am a little bit of a nutter for little notebooks that can just pop into my bag. If I have any ideas, if I have any thoughts, they can always be transferred to the appropriate journal or project book later on. But I do like to keep things a little bit lightweight for my bag because I have a back injury, so I can't really carry things around that are going to give me a lot of trouble. So I really favour this one. I purchased this one ages ago. It's got a little tie string and it was made in Italy and it is genuine leather, but it is okay because I did not buy it from the original supplier and I didn't buy it first hand. I mean, it's not used, but it's not first hand, so I kind of felt okay about it. Plus, it doesn't really feel that leathery actually, which is weird. I also have this book which I bought from Paper Chase, which has loads of those kind of holiday dolls on it. This one's really cute. I've had this for, let me see if there's a date in the front. I've had it since February 2011 and it's still going. I'm just about to finish it off, but it's literally just for the bag, to pop in the bag if I get ideas of any nature, really. Ideas for my business, for readings that I want to do, spiritual ideas, creative writing ideas that come to me in the moment. I try not to go overboard on these little notebooks. I try not to buy any more until I'm actually finished because I know they can be a little bit addictive and so many outlets do sell these little notebooks and that, you can get a bit fond of picking one up and then not really using it for anything. So I just stick with these two for the moment. But I did actually get a moleskin as a gift recently, a cute little pocket moleskin for a gift, and one can't really help it if it's gifted, so I probably will add this one into the mix and pop this into my bag on occasion too. I'm kind of half and half between giving something a purpose and just using it for general stuff when it's this big, because I wouldn't really have a very specific purpose for something that's this big, really. I would just let it to be a general kind of bag thing where if I wanted to write something down, I could do so. I'm going to pop these down here. Okay, just to be boring, this is my book where I make notes on books that I have read. I don't know if anybody else does this. I know a lot of people favour Goodreads. Loads of people have asked me to please get on Goodreads, please get a profile on Goodreads, tell everybody what you're reading, what you have been reading, do book reviews, but it's, to be honest with you, the amount of platforms that I use on the internet, if I started using Goodreads, I'd probably never ever leave my computer screen. So I'm trying to scale my platforms down to just the ones that I like using now. So I'm not planning on becoming a Goodreads fanatic. However, I do actually make notes of the books that I've read, and they are specifically the ones that I've read on spirituality, the craft, self-development, tarot, that kind of thing. I won't necessarily make notes on things like history, biography, politics, current affairs, but I will definitely make notes on the responses that I had to books which have kind of a spiritual theme to them. And this is particularly helpful since I started reviewing books on my channel, so that's that. Sorry if you can hear banging, I'm like throwing the books on the floor because I already have another great big stack of journals behind the computer that I need to introduce you to, so I've got no room anywhere. This is my journal, my feelings, emotions, situations journal. I do a lot of my shadow work in this journal. This journal does not pertain to my spiritual journey. It is more for other aspects of my life, other concerns that I have. And I always keep a journal, I always have done. I have a massive stack of journals underneath my bed, which I've kept everything from around the age of 17. There were loads of journals before that which I threw away because it just didn't really any longer seem relevant to keep them. So I've not kept them, and I had loads of poetry books from when I was like 12 years old, but eventually you do have to start committing to get rid of some things. So I got rid of those, but I've kept everything from around the age that I was in AS level at school, right through college, and then right on through my first major relationship. I've kept everything from that point on. So I have loads of journals under my bed, and this is just the most recent edition, really. I picked these up from Paper Chase. I just find them are very comfortable to write in. They're really you know, quite comfy on my lap. I write normally on my bed with a pillow on my lap. I don't like to write at a desk because of my back. So my boyfriend has the desk for his music. He has lots of machines. He has more buttons than any man would know what to do with. Which moves me swiftly on to my Book of Mirrors. My Book of Mirrors is my spiritual journal. I've not included my Book of Shadows in this rundown, purely because it's a black book with a pentacle on it, but it's sort of very ceremonial and barely used actually anymore. I write ceremonial poetry sometimes in it for the circle so I can keep a record of what I've done. But all of the workings out of such things goes in here, as does any spiritual contemplations I have, any problems I'm having with my spiritual pathway, anything new that I'm learning, making lists of things that I want to learn. And you know, that list isn't exhaustive. I use this book pretty much for everything. It's my go-to book for spiritual musings. And I absolutely love it. And I'm getting closer and closer to the end of it now. And I don't want to give up. I don't want to end my relationship with this lovely book. I just feel such a strong resonance and connection with it. We've been together through so much, but I am going to have to eventually, you know, get to that final page moment and say my goodbyes. And of course I will keep it forever, and it's something that I like to refer back to, all that kind of spiritual shizzle. And I think it really helps you to see your progress and see your workings on the spiritual journey. Now, this book I use for notes on scrying and astral projection, that kind of thing. By the way, I don't have a book specifically for dreams, guys, because I only record what Jung would call the big dreams, and I do that in my Book of Mirrors. So I don't have a book specifically for dreams. I will just note down any dreams that I feel have spiritual significance in my Book of Mirrors. So that's what I do there. But this book is for scrying and astral projection notes, and this is for when I specifically make the decision to do some scrying or some astral projection, and I actually write the notes afterwards, after the session. And I mostly use it for scrying by smoke, scrying by fire, that kind of thing, and occasionally bibliomancy. I love this book. This is another paper chase edition, and I just really like it. I also regularly buy the Paper Chase recycled editioned notebooks, which I'll show you some of in a moment. They are also very well bound, very high quality recycled paper, and they're so lovely. I really like them. They've really got an old school kind of like Cold War feel to them, if you like that whole Manila Secret Service kind of vibe. This is my spell book, my new one, and I just bought it because it's pretty. Really, there was no other agenda there. It's got a sheen to it and I really like it. And there are a few spells in here now that I have performed. What's this? Oh, I've got a postcard in there. That's nice. I think that was on my altar for last Imulk, I believe. Yeah, I've got some lists in here as well of the way my daily devotionals, kind of mantras and prayers, etc., have moved on over time and progressed over time. So that's interesting. So yeah, this one, I love this one. It's quite beautiful. Not massively acquainted with it yet, but it does have a few spells noted down in it and things that I have done in the circle. This is my Book of Chaos. This is, you know, my magnum opus, I guess you could say. This book I love. I've been working on it on and off for a while now. Not as frequently as I would like, I'm going to admit. But I am really pleased with the way it's going. I'm really pleased with what it's looking like. This is the inside front page with the people on the sea and all of the necessary quotations that I might need when I'm getting into a chaotic state of mind. And then I've gone into all kinds of experimental magic that I'm personally doing, ideas and concepts that I have about magic and about the craft, etc. Just different places that I want to take things, writing about my responses to things that I've formulated, like my art magic, memory magic, that kind of thing. So I'm really loving the Book of Chaos, and it's becoming increasingly more important to me to actually have this resource. So I'm really happy with it at the moment. This is a book where I write devotionals, poetry, and any kind of dedication to hell. I write all of my first drafts of this kind of stuff in my Book of Mirrors, but the final draft will be placed into this book, and that's so I can get a handle very simply and quickly on what I've actually dedicated to her in the circle, what the words were like, what the energies were like at the time, etc., so that I have a record. for myself. So yeah, all of the rough workings and stuff go into the Book of Mirrors, but the final piece will be placed into here. And that's what I've been using for the last year or so to make sure I can keep a handle on the sacred words that I'm actually offering to my matron deity in the circle. And it's quite possible that when I do decide to dedicate to Tia and when I do decide to address him in the circle, the notes for that will also be written in here. This is my tarot journal. This journal hasn't gotten a lot of love recently, to be honest. I've not touched it since the new year, which is not good. I mean, I am always thinking about tarot, writing about tarot, shuffling the cards, etc. But it's finding time to get that creative aspect into the mix. So I will be doing that again at some point soon. But yeah, this is my tarot journal. I'm looking forward to actually showcasing the tarot journal because a few people have asked me, how do you get started with it? How do you get your inspiration for it? What kind of things do you write in it? What kind of pictures do you put in it? And I would like to actually showcase what I've done to inspire people if that's necessary for them. So, you know, when I've gone a little bit more of the way through it and I feel like I've got enough to actually make a full video on it, it will be something that I will definitely show to you guys. Now we're going to go into the more visual things. This is not necessarily spirituality based per se, but this is one of the first kind of books that I used of visual content, so collage, scrapping, that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to show you, because I've always got a book like this on the go, I actually use scrap and collage and stuff to kind of express the way I'm feeling about life and explore my thoughts on certain things and all that kind of doolally. So, you know, this is just a very sort of rough cut early version of me doing that. And it's very scrappy and very kind of well loved. And, you know, I really enjoyed this one particularly. And I still do occasionally use it from time to time just to brainstorm. But it's by no means my main area of focus when it comes to visual stuff. But I really enjoy making visual representations of what I'm feeling and thinking and, you know, what my inspirations are. Oh, look, how Monty Python is this? So Monty Python. So, yeah, I've been a huge fan of collage and scrap for a very long time, and I have actually put this quite nicely into my exploration of my spirituality through using paper and through using art. I regularly make collage, which is centered around the spiritual process and tries to describe how I feel about deity and how I feel about all that kind of thing. I also like to sketch and do drawings and paintings and scrapping in actual books. This book is called Man and the Spiritual World. It's an antique book that I bought for really cheap in an old bookshop. And it actually has quite a bigoted flavour to it. I actually decided to start reading it before I started altering it, just to see what the crack was, because it was published in, let's have a little look. I can't actually see the publishing page now, but I'm pretty sure it was like 1930s. And so I decided to have a look what this guy was talking about, and it was really kind of patronising and really like pro-Christian in a really insulting way. Like he was saying things like, oh, even the Hindus and the Mohammedans could, you know, maybe grasp the value of spirit, but not anywhere to the extent of Christians, because weirdly they called Muslims Mohammedans back then. So yeah, it was really patronising and yucky, and then I didn't feel at all bad about altering it and putting my own very cosmic flavour onto it. So basically what I do is, yeah, I just I collage and scrap over the book, I remove pages and I put my own pages in and basically create this kind of magical diary of how I'm feeling and what I'm kind of getting into spiritually and stuff. So really it's a stream of consciousness exercise that I like to do. And I feel that it just gives me some kind of visual handle on my journey and what it means to me and, you know, how it's going and how it's progressing and stuff. So I really enjoy that, and I really enjoy doing fun things with it, like I do little pockets and put little things in the pockets and stuff. So yeah, it's just something that I like to be getting on with. Here's another one of the same ilk. Again, just if I'm feeling expansive and pensive maybe, or if I'm really wanting to think a lot about my spiritual journey, that'll be the go-to time where books like this kind of come out, and I just doodle in them or cut words out that I feel are appropriate, and I just really kind of let my inner child wander, and I just kind of express how I'm feeling about divinity and that kind of thing. A few more little scrapbooks that I've kept over time. None of these are abandoned. I kind of select which one I want to put things into and I really mix it up. So this book I've had, I think, since 2011 as well, but I still use it, I still scrap in it. And this is more for just images that I find that inspire me in some way. They inspire me creatively, or they inspire me spiritually, they inspire me in some sense. And I will just make collections. It's almost like being a curator of my own little art gallery in a way, and I select words and combine them with pictures, and I just try and create some kind of atmosphere that I enjoy and that speaks to me of what I'm going through or what I'm interested in at the time. And really what's great about this is that you can always look back and you can remember where you were at that moment or what you were really considering and thinking about at that moment. And that's what I really love about scrapping and collaging. I do think there's a very distinct difference. I think collage is an art form. Whereas I think scrapping is some kind of form of stream of consciousness decoration, if you like, so there is a difference. And when I do collage, it's quite a different thing to when I do scrapping. This is definitely what I would call a scrapbook. But I still think there's a hell of a lot of artistic merit in being able to curate the images and actually create the kind of energy or atmosphere that you're feeling inside and translate it to the page using what's at your disposal, the resources that you have, the magazines that you have and stuff. And also, as I said, it's just a great visual diary. It's something to look back on, and I really enjoy that about it. I also find cutting out images and words and putting them together in some kind of satisfactory order to be incredibly cathartic and therapeutic. And I think it was part of what I used as a form of therapy for myself, and it kind of always will be. It will continue to be that for me. This is yet another scrapbook style dealio where I just put in kind of, bits and bobs that I feel represent how I'm feeling at the time. Just exploring, really. Exploring different feelings and different vibes, different atmospheres. So, I kind of think there's a lot of merit in this kind of work, and I will always do it. It'll always be part of what I consider to be my creative life, is just forming these little portraits of who I am and what it is that matters to me at any given time. But like I said, they're not necessarily so spiritual, although the two altered books I've shown you definitely connect with how I'm feeling spiritually, but it's just saying it in a more visual way, like if I'm brainstorming or if I'm trying to get my head around how I feel about a particular thought form or a particular deity. It will sometimes be much more useful for me to make some scrap or make a collage or just get loads of images out on the floor and really kind of search to jigsaw an archetype together out of something and kind of mishmash and create that atmosphere which reflects the atmosphere that I'm really feeling coming up inside for that particular deity or concept or archetype. So that's how it works for me, and that's how it's helpful to me. Now I'm going to go on into my creative writing books briefly. I do write. I finished a novel last November. I'm editing it at the moment. I write short stories and poetic prose, I suppose you could say, and I do readings in my local area and stuff, which is so much fun. I'm doing more and more of them lately. So these are just some of the books that I use for creative writing. I know Thorn from Drawing Canors said that she is not a huge fan of moleskins, or moleskiners if you want to be really pretentious, because she said they don't stand up to bags. I must admit I've not had this issue. I didn't use moleskins for a really, really long time. It wasn't something that, I'd heard of them, and in magazines and stuff, the creative people that I admired and I was into, I noted that sometimes in interviews they'd say things like, oh, so I took out my moleskin and I wrote some notes in my moleskin. So I knew what a moleskin was and that it was this particular stationery company and stuff, and that these journals were kind of iconic in the creative world, but I never owned one. And then I told my friend Lou, who works in advertising, that I'd never owned a moleskin, and she was completely floored by this. She couldn't believe that could possibly be the case, because of course she's worked in offices for years where all these people come in with their moleskins and like create ideas and stuff and exchange ideas. So for her to know somebody who was really creative and passionate about words to not have a moleskin was really odd. So she bought me a moleskin. I can't find that moleskin at the moment, but it is the moleskin that I use to write down any ideas and thoughts I have about my spiritual counselling practice, my Etsy shop, the readings I offer, any improvements I can make for my clients, anything along those lines. I put in that moleskin and it is nearly finished. So lots and lots of notes about that. So she purchased a moleskin for me and I instantly fell in love. So my boyfriend has bought a few for me. He bought me the little pink one that I showed at the beginning of this video, and this is another one, and I have a red one somewhere. So people kind of have gotten into this idea of buying moleskins for me now. I really enjoy them, and I've never found that they don't stand up to a bag, actually. So, but it kind of doesn't make much sense to me that they would be a different quality over here than they are over there. I don't think that could be the case, or could it? I don't know. But I've found moleskins, the moleskins that I can get in the UK, that I buy in the UK, are exceptionally sturdy. They're just an affectation. If you can get over the fact that they're a bit pretentious, then I think they're a good use of your money. They are pricey though, they are pricey. But they're so comfy. They're just so, I can't describe it. I'm not very good at being descriptive about stationery, but there's something very comfy about a moleskin. This beautiful leather wrap book was bought for me in Florence by an ex-boyfriend. I was admiring these books that were being sold by a kind of merchant boutique in Florence, and I couldn't buy them because they're leather and I won't buy leather. I'll buy it secondhand. I'll buy secondhand leather clothing. I've got no problem with, with the touch or feel of leather because I've grown up with it. My father wore a leather coat since day one, but because I'm a vegetarian, it doesn't make any sense to actually spend money on leather. But he bought one for me while I was round the corner, and then he came over to me and gave it to me, and I said, it's leather, and he said, I bought it for you, so it's allowed. So it was kind of like a little loophole, I suppose. But this has experimental writing in it, and I really love this one. This one is so beautiful. It's got a really romantic feel to it. I wonder if you can see the fleur-de-lis on the front. There it is. Look at that. What a stunner. And it just smells like, journals would have smelled in the old days, when only the very rich could afford them. I like to select books sometimes for the way they look. Like I like retro style books. There's a make of stationery in Russia called etcetera, and they make like the exercise books for schools, like the green exercise books, and they just look so old-fashioned, kind of Cold War type thing. I don't have one to hand right now, but last time I was in Russia I bought a massive stack of them, and they do squared paper and lined paper for maths and English. And they're just like little bog standard exercise books, but they have a really retro feel to them, and I love the atmosphere, and they're actually the same colour as my earrings, and they're called tetrad. And I really like them. They're really cute, they're really little, they don't stand up to a bag, they're just ordinary thin paper, but I enjoy them to brainstorm small projects or whatever. When I know that I'm only going to need a teeny tiny book, I will definitely go for a tetrad. That'll be my go-to book. And I've got a little bit of a magpie eye for anything that looks retro or anything that looks kind of a little bit different from the norm. So if I need a book for something, I'll normally pick up something a bit like this, something a bit kind of old school exercise book. This one's got a really 80s feel to it with the, all that ridiculous kind of Escher style geometric madness. So I like that. Also, if I'm planning a project or whatever, I will just buy sort of boring, ordinary exercise books. I'll try to buy recycled where possible, but you do have to check the paper stock first. Like, for example, these books by Paper Chase, these are recycled, 100% recycled in their recycled range, and the stock is fantastic, and the feel, the layering, the thickness of the pages, it's great, and it's really well bound. So I really enjoy these ones, and these are also for creative writing, and sometimes I do decorate them with silly little things on the back, but I do enjoy these for creative writing, and I will normally, again, just select which one. I'll have a few on the go at one time, and then on the day that I fancy writing something, I'll just select which one feels right for that moment and write in it. So I do like to have a little bit of choice when it comes to stationery. So you have now been on a tour of pretty much all of my stationery, most of it for spiritual purposes, but with regard to the creative writing aspect of things, I do feel that that is a big part of my spiritual journey, and I genuinely believe in not only therapeutic journaling, but therapeutic fictional writing, creative writing, formulating stories to tell your own story, mythopoetic content in order to express how you feel, and that is a lot of what I do with my fiction. So I would say that it's not completely divorced from the notion of self-development which comes with the spiritual journey. So it's all one and the same thing for me. It's all kind of integrated. I hope you've enjoyed my little tour, and I hope you will think of me and feel sorry for me, knowing that I now have to go through my bookshelf and my other shelves and put all of these books back in the appropriate places, which is probably going to take me quite some time. But I think I'll make myself a cup of tea first, so it kind of feels a little bit less harsh on me. Okay, much love, people. Blessed be.